Welcome to the Creative Plan Podcast Network. Join us as we share our favorite RPGs, one-shot games, tabletop games, reviews of items, and convention panels, and other exciting things that we run into from time to time. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, assigned to Ragnarok Story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and RPGpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
Hey guys, Jim here with Creative Plan Podcast with Kelly.
Hello!
And it is RPGaDay 2019, August the 29th. The word of the day is not only the topic of a great movie. It is not only the reason why that we're probably sitting at a gaming table gaming. It is not only why we are not playing Chainmail, the tabletop game.
This is quite a build-up.
It is. The word is evolve.
Evolve.
See, I'm stretching it to Evolution, the movie, which is a fun movie.
Actually, it was.
Chainmail evolved into D&D. Remember the tabletop wargaming take that Chainmail turned into Dungeons and Dragons.
I never played Chainmail. I went straight to D&D.
No one's really, unless you were gaming hardcore in the 70s, early 70s, you didn't play it.
Early 70s, I was pretty young,
So evolve, which it is a thing that is constantly happening. Your character sheets evolve, games that we play, their mechanics evolve. Characters have their own storyline and evolve into their own character. Is how many times has a player had a character that I'm going to go from point A to point B, and your character as you play due to dice rolls, your teammates, the adventure, all these things you did not know were there, change your character and evolve it organically. And that's when it organically evolves is the magic.
Yeah, like my sign of Loki, Trixie. She went from one thing and through the gameplay has completely changed. She's broken now. You know,
wow. It's the way you look at me when you say that.
That's because you broke her.
No, the game broke her. You slept with the greedy dwarf.
Hey, you know.
It was his head or his heart. He had to protect his head.
Yeah, well, how well did that work out for him? But yeah, I mean, here she starts off, you know, I wouldn't say, you know, innocent or anything. She's, you know.
She was a thief.
Yeah, well, she was. I mean, but she never stole from anybody who couldn't afford it, you know, and sort of like in it for the game of it.
She was a professional con person.
Yeah, but it was a game. It wasn't like she really, really needed it. She would donate a lot of it, you know, give it to friends and stuff.
So you're saying she didn't need the Jotunhammer that she took from someone who's going to die if he didn't have it. Interesting.
It was a game and she wanted to win. But by the time the end of that adventure, yeah, she
got serious.
She's not as lighthearted as she used to be. Let's put it that way. She's definitely evolved into a darker persona.
Which is interesting.
You know, because she was lied to, betrayed. Her heart has been broken. She trusted somebody and
almost like victims.
Yeah. No.
I like how your first reaction was yeah.
So that character has evolved, you know, over the different types of gameplay.
See, I'll throw up for evolve along the concept of gameplay and style. as a game master, never stop trying new things and evolving. Just like editions, like from 1st edition D&D to 5th edition, it has evolved miles from where it used to be. You know, at one point in 1st edition, part of your character build was actually you would get a stronghold and some minions and try to set out and make your own place in the world. 5th edition, not so much. I mean, granted, there's the cool Strongholds book that just came out, but that's not official D&D, and it's not part of the game. So always be willing to try new RPGs, because you can get new tips and tricks. Like Blades in the Dark, you get the cool clock idea, which is a way of building up suspense and threat in the game. You know, each time the group fumble, mark a little tick on the clock. And when you fill up the clock, the town guards show up. Or the orcs get reinforced, or all of a sudden a random patrol. Because I'm not a big fan of random encounter tables. I love random encounters, but the problem is so many people use them as a crutch.
Live and die by that.
Yeah, I like having the clock. And when you build up enough clock or threat, okay, now we have a reason for one of these 3 random encounters I've already rolled previously and flushed out to happen. You know, so that way it makes sense. It's organic. So always be willing to evolve and try different things, because that's how we learn. I mean, play with different GMs, play with different players. Because, you know, if you're playing with the same 5 players you've played since, like, elementary school, as a GM, you've not branched out because you haven't experienced what different opinions and players are. Try some new player groups. Do a one-shot at your local game store. You would be amazed doing one-shots at your local game store how that teaches you to be able to experience and deal with who knows what when you show up to the game table, like the opening table Star Wars game. I never know if I'm getting 3 players or 11 players from that game table. And you know what? Some of the funnest big games I've had is when we've had 11 people and I divvy everyone up into groups. The groups have missions. And I can tie it up to the group works as a group. And then I do, of course, that's Star Wars, so you can have the beautiful screen swipe at any moment to switch to the next group. Because that's the cinematic aspect of Star Wars, is the screen swipe.
And you kind of have to split the party when it's that large.
Yeah, when it then becomes 3 mini teams as opposed to one big team, all with one goal, but different parts.
You know what? I'm also going to suggest one other thing for evolution. Player evolution. Because, you know, when you've been gaming for, you know, a long time, just in general, and you see the player who's new to gaming, you know, and they're usually so timid about their characters and stuff, and it's nice to see them evolve into, you know, a more confident role player, and then they're a lot more varied and daring, as opposed to, I don't want to get hit, you know, I don't know what to do, you know.
It's like that new car. You know, they got the new car, they're
afraid
of getting a scratch on it.
Or a scratch or something.
Then 3 years down the line, when you've been rear-ended once, you're just like, cutting people off in traffic and driving it like you stole it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a player evolution. And of course, also as you become more comfortable with the new game system, then, you know, you can branch out.
You learn how to play the system.
And I'm not talking min-maxing or playing, you're
playing it to the best.
Yeah. But just the way you play.
Yeah, it's the synergy of action, economy, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and you become smoother as you're more comfortable with the rules.
When it's your turn, you know what you're going to do.
Your flow, exactly. So you have, and because the new one's like, I don't know what to do. You know?
So there's a...
And you kind of give them suggestions, or you help them along, and then they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this."
Then they're going balls to the walls.
Exactly. That player evolution is a treat, you know.
Yeah, seeing the maturing of a new player at the table. That's always awesome. Like Ron's daughter.
Oh, she's amazing.
She's a rock star gamer. She is. I'm so hoping we get to hang out and play a game or two this ReCon. So that's the different kinds of evolution you have at the game table. I mean, players are like Pokemon. They do evolve. They do change. They do blossom out. It could be the player who always plays one class will one day say, you know what, I want to try this class.
I like playing different classes. I mean, I still have my favorites, but I've evolved now because I did try other classes. You know, it's
And never be afraid to have your character make a evolutionary change if it makes sense to the character. Like in 5th, for multi-classing, if that's available on your table, you could, hey, I had a near-death experience, and I'm now a warlock because someone gave me that Harry Dresden choice. Would you like to be the Winter Knight and come back, or do you want to be a cripple? It could be that all of a sudden your rogue who's been doing all these levels of darkness all of a sudden stole a holy script, fell off a rooftop, the Torah rolled open, and he read the script while sitting there with his broken back, and he felt the warmth of the God go through him. And the God gave him a choice. Are you ready for this to be the end of your path and cold darkness ahead? Or do you want to serve me? And the rogue says, yes, I'm going to take a level of paladin or, cleric. And, hey, there's a great story element for the GM to actually make story evolution.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was in 4th, where you basically... You could take a class. I mean,
your Paragon tier.
Yeah, exactly. Which could have been like, so since my ranger, I mean, she was a half elf.
Mm-hmm.
Dad was a ranger, but her mom was a cleric. Was an elven cleric. So even though she was a ranger, she actually had like 2 cleric spells or something. A healing spell, and I think there was something else. But and it made sense for her.
It was a natural character.
Exactly, to have that. It was also needed for that group since we didn't have a cleric.
Yeah, that is true. But thankfully it was 4th edition. You worked around that.
Yeah, they had the healing surges.
Yeah. So. Which made it really difficult. People complained in 5th about killing players. 4th was great when you make it hard for killing players. GM should not worry about killing players. Players kill players. Just let it evolve naturally that they run to death. But, evolution happens in so many different, different macro and micro levels. Let it happen. Don't be afraid to let your character not try new things. Hey, character change happens. In almost every other game system out there, there's some kind of evolution that happens in the characters. In the Star Wars system, you can buy a new talent tree and take a different aspect of life. You could be a Padawan who all of a sudden becomes a smuggler because you can't be a Padawan in public.
That's for sure.
You could be a separatist who then takes a Imperial class, so you can then go back into the Empire and work with the good guys, air quotes. Space Nazis. So don't be afraid to evolve, especially if it makes interesting stories. And don't forget, bad guys evolve too. When your bad guy gets his escape, he like the classic Pulp villains. If they escape enough times, they evolve up to the next level. It's like I've warned our group in the Clone Wars era Star Wars game we're going to be doing soon. If a Nemesis villain escapes from you twice, he will now be a evolved Nemesis, which is a new system, a new rule they've got for these enhanced Nemesis that get a second attack at the bottom of the initiative order. Because people have been realizing 5 players versus 1 Nemesis, the guy gets jacked up every time. Darth Vader would die to 5 Han Solos because they get to go after him so many times. So he gets that last slot as an extra action, demonstrating a true Nemesis's badassery. An ability to evolve. Just like, Johnny 5 is alive. Alrighty, guys. This is Jim and Kelly from Creative Playing Podcast Network, signing out with Evolve. And go see the movie Evolution. It's really good.
Well, it's out on...
Netflix.
Yeah.
It's super campy. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for listening.
Down in the depths of the mountain, we dwarves spend our time forging powerful weapons, mining precious gems and metals, and feasting like kings. But after a day of digging for the next Arkenstone, this dwarf likes to come home to a package full of loot. Dungeon Crate is a monthly subscription box service forged specifically for RPG and tabletop gamers. Miniatures, dice, tokens, coins, maps, modules, terrain pieces, handcrafted items, RPG jewelry, and more are yours for only a few gold per month. You even get a digital crate along with a physical one as an added bonus. So are you brave enough to reward yourself with a Dungeon Crate? By Morden's beard, I hope so. DungeonCrate.com. Let the adventure begin.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. And feel free to enjoy our other shows, such as D&D Journey of the 5th Edition and Scion Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion hero to Ragnarok story. Thank you for listening.